They were taking advantage of vulnerable people who were unsheltered, which is both disturbing and unacceptable.
17 high-caliber firearms, thousands of lethal fentanyl pills, and one massive criminal conspiracy rooted in the belly of Seattle. For years, the notorious jungle encampment beneath I-5 was transformed into a multi-million-dollar narcotics hub, fueling a surge in overdose deaths across the International District. Today, the hammer of justice finally fell on 4-3-year-old Khampheth Keodara. This wasn't just a street-level bust. This was a high-stakes investigation involving the FBI, DEA, and IRS to dismantle a predatory empire. Keodara didn't just sell poison, he played the system, using 3 failed rehab stints as a smokescreen for his cold-blooded distribution network. This story is as dark as it gets. If you're ready for the raw facts, hit like and subscribe. It's the best way to support our deep dives into justice. The headlines say Seattle is a city of innovation, but just beneath the asphalt of Interstate 5 lies a dark, subterranean reality the mainstream media is too afraid to touch. We are talking about the jungle, a lawless, 2-mile stretch of urban wasteland that has officially morphed into a high-tech narco fortress. This isn't ancient history. This is breaking news. As of April 2026, federal documents have pulled back the curtain on a criminal operation so sophisticated it makes street-level dealing look like a lemonade stand. For the past several months, the FBI, DEA, and a specialized Homeland Security task force have been engaged in a literal war for the soul of the International District. The jungle wasn't just a camp for the unhoused. It was a strategically fortified distribution hub shielded by the massive concrete pillars of the freeway. Imagine a labyrinth where the rules of society cease to exist. Here, a whole-of-government offensive was launched to dismantle a syndicate that had effectively turned Seattle's most vulnerable residents into a captive customer base for the most lethal substances on the planet. The sheer scale of the operation uncovered in this 2026 crackdown is staggering. We're talking about a multi-layered organization moving industrial-grade quantities of fentanyl, methamphetamine, and cocaine. This wasn't just about small baggies. Wiretap evidence authorized by federal courts just months ago revealed encrypted communications that sounded more like a Fortune 500 boardroom than a drug den. In one chilling intercept, Khampheth Keodara was caught red-handed, negotiating the move of a full pound of methamphetamine in a single transaction. That isn't a deal. That's a chemical bombardment of our streets. But it gets more dangerous. The investigation, which hit a fever pitch in late 2025 and early 2026, exposed an environment of extreme volatility. Federal agents didn't just find drugs. They found a literal arsenal. During the coordinated takedown, law enforcement seized 17 high-caliber firearms, including tactical weapons intended to enforce jungle law. Wiretaps picked up intimations of violence, cold, calculated discussions of hits, kidnappings, and turf wars that the FBI had to intervene in secretly to prevent a massacre on Seattle's soil. This was a no-go zone where the syndicate used the density of the encampment as a human shield. They knew the police couldn't just charge in without risking a bloodbath. They operated with a sense of total impunity, treating the International District, specifically the corner of 12th and Jackson, as their personal ATM. While the city poured millions into social services, Keodara and his crew were harvesting the souls of the addicted. It was a predatory empire built on the screams of the vulnerable, hidden in plain sight beneath the tires of thousands of unsuspecting commuters. And the most sickening part? The man at the center of it all was supposed to be reforming, while he was actually fueling the body count. If the scale of the distribution was shocking, the level of systemic betrayal by Khampheth Keodara is enough to make your blood boil. This wasn't just a criminal breaking the law. This was a predator weaponizing the very mercy of the American judicial system to shield a multi-million-dollar drug empire. According to blistering federal court records released this April 2026, Keodara wasn't just some street-level hustler. He was a master manipulator who treated the King County court system like a revolving door, laughing in the face of every judge who tried to give him a second chance. Let's look at the cold, hard facts that surfaced during his sentencing. On 3 separate occasions, Keodara faced serious felony charges in King County. We're talking about a rap sheet that reads like a handbook for a career criminal: identity theft, unlawful possession of firearms, witness tampering, and conspiracy. Any ordinary citizen would be looking at decades behind bars. But Keodara knew the cheat code. Every single time, he looked a judge in the eye and pleaded for mercy, claiming he was a victim of his own addiction. He successfully secured 3 drug offender sentencing alternatives, or DOSAs. In the eyes of the law, he was supposed to be in a high-intensity drug treatment program, fighting for his sobriety. But while the state was paying for his treatment, Keodara was using that freedom to orchestrate a chemical invasion of Seattle. This is where the story turns from a crime report into a psychological thriller. Federal agents, using high-tech surveillance and deep-cover wiretaps, discovered that Keodara's recovery was a total fabrication. While he was ostensibly washing out of treatment programs, he was actually back in the trenches of the International District, specifically at the notorious intersection of 12th and Jackson, acting as a primary supplier of blue fentanyl pills and crystal meth. The audacity is staggering. Assistant U.S. Attorney Casey Khampheth laid it out in a scathing memo. Keodara was committing high-level felonies while in his 30s and 40s, an age where most criminals have either aged out or moved on. Instead, Keodara got sharper. He used the rehab status as a perfect alibi. Who would suspect a man supposedly under court-supervised treatment of moving pounds of methamphetamine? He was a double agent of the worst kind, pretending to seek help from the community while simultaneously poisoning its most vulnerable members. Even as he was pretending to be in drug treatment, he was dealing poisons to vulnerable unhoused people. First Assistant U.S. Attorney Neil Floyd stated, "Think about that for a second. The very people who are struggling the most, the residents of the jungle, who are literally fighting for survival, were the targets of Keodara's predatory greed. He didn't see human beings. He saw walking profit margins. He knew that the fentanyl he was peddling was 50 times stronger than heroin, a substance so lethal that a dose the size of a few grains of salt can stop a heart. And he sold it anyway, all while tucked behind the legal immunity of a treatment alternative. This was a calculated exploit of the Pacific Northwest push for restorative justice. Keodara didn't want restoration. He wanted a monopoly. His third DOSA, granted in 2022, was the ultimate get-out-of-jail-free card that he used to supercharge his operation, leading up to the massive January 2025 arrests. He wasn't just a drug dealer. He was a parasite on the judicial system, proving that for some, the promise of reform is just another tool for the trade. As the FBI began closing the net, they realized they weren't just taking down a dealer, they were stopping a man who had made a mockery of the very concept of a second chance. The clock finally ran out for Khampheth Keodara in January 2025, during one of the most high-stakes, coordinated tactical strikes in the history of Seattle law enforcement. This wasn't a standard police knock and announce. This was a massive pre-dawn raid involving over a dozen federal and local agencies, from the FBI and DEA to the IRS-CI and the United States Marshals. Armed with the intelligence gathered from months of wiretaps recordings that captured the chilling intimations of violence and the mechanical logistics of a narcotics empire, specialized tactical teams descended on multiple locations across the city, including the dark, reinforced encampments within the jungle. The scenes were chaotic. Flashbangs echoed under the I-5 overpass as agents breached heavily fortified shanties that served as distribution points. The danger was palpable. Remember, this wasn't just a drug bust, it was a military-grade seizure. By the time the smoke cleared, law enforcement had recovered a staggering 17 firearms. These weren't just handguns. The cache included tactical weapons designed for one thing: lethality. For the FBI, the presence of this arsenal confirmed their worst fears. Keodara and his organization weren't just selling poison, they were prepared to kill to protect their bottom line. Following the massive arrest operation, the legal battle began. On the 21st of January, 2026, Keodara finally saw the writing on the wall and pleaded guilty to conspiracy to distribute controlled substances. But even in the face of federal charges, the scale of his betrayal continued to haunt the courtroom. During the sentencing on the 15th of April, 2026, the atmosphere was electric with tension. Assistant U.S. Attorney Casey Khampheth didn't pull any punches, demanding a 9-0-month sentence and highlighting Keodara's decades-long history of felony offenses. The prosecution's message was clear. The time for mercy had ended. U.M.S. District Judge Tana Lynn's words cut through the courtroom like a knife. Looking directly at Keodara, she said, You were dealing fentanyl, meth, and cocaine drugs that cause great harm in our community. Your actions added to all that suffering. The judge pointed out the devastating irony. Keodara was preying on the very community he claimed to be a part of. The final sentence? 75 months in federal prison. While some may argue it wasn't enough, it represented a definitive end to his predatory cycle. But Keodara was just one piece of a much larger puzzle. The investigation, part of the Homeland Security Task Force initiative, has sent shockwaves through the Seattle underworld. Keodara's co-defendants are falling like dominoes. Theodore Nation is already serving 30 months. Other high-level players like Tommy Pham, Donfoy Safan, and Sang Tran have already pleaded guilty, with their sentencing dates set for July 2026. The feds have sent a clear message. The jungle is no longer a safe haven for cartels and transnational criminal organizations. As Special Agent in Charge W. Mike Harrington of the FBI stated, these predators chose to contribute to the fentanyl crisis plaguing our communities by preying on those made vulnerable by their addictions. The takedown of the Keodara network isn't just a win for the police, it's a temporary reprieve for a city gasping for air under the weight of an overdose epidemic. But as the traffic continues to roar over I-5, the shadow of the jungle remains a grim reminder that the war for the streets of Seattle is far from over. This case stands as a warning to those who think they can hide behind the masks of reform. The FBI is listening, the DEA is watching, and the hammer of justice is always ready to fall. Khampheth Keodara thought he could outsmart the system, using a mask of recovery to hide a heart of greed. But today, the 75-month sentence marks the end of his predatory reign in the jungle. This case serves as a chilling reminder. Behind the headlines of the fentanyl crisis are real faces, real families, and real predators hiding in plain sight. As the city of Seattle works to reclaim its streets, one question remains: how many more double agents are still out there? Thank you for watching this deep dive. If you believe in holding these predators accountable, don't forget to like this video and share your thoughts in the comments below. Who should we investigate next? Stay sharp, stay safe, and we'll see you in the next file.